67-28, almost the end of the first quarter.
Travis, 40, first down, and across midfield for Jordan Travis.
You talk about the hip drop tackle. It's a football tackle. You want guys to not tackle, then put flags on them and they'll snatch the flags. But until then, if you want to ban this tackle, just ban the football game in general. It's too violent of a sport. It's too violent of a game. People are too soft these days. So just ban the game, because at the end of the day, runners are trying to drag defenders and gain more yards. And what a defender is trying to do is bring him down. It's not an easy thing to do. And for guys that have never done it, to sit there and tell you how it should be regulated and how it should be officiated is insane. I want you to see me at full speed, Skip, and I want you to try to bring me down. And when I'm dragging you, I want you to not drop your weight down to bring me down. I want you to just let me drag you as far as I can, and then eventually I'll stop when I get to the end zone. If you don't want that to happen, then just get out of the way. Get out of the game, because these people have not played the game, and that's clear when you hear them talk about it. This tackle should be banned. What part of it can be banned? A person having weight, you want them to not have gravity? You want them to not wrap people up around their hips? You're like, form them up. Well, you don't get to form everybody up when guys are running 4.3, some of the most dynamic athletes in the world. You're not always going to get them square and get them where you want them. Sometimes you're going to dive and have to try to wrap their hips up. And when you dive and try to wrap their hips up, you got to try to bring them down. And the only way you can bring them down is to drop your weight and to stop.
Now, I'm not going to go as far as Richard and say because you hadn't played tackle football, you don't know anything about it. I ain't going to do that. All right? But what I will say
I'm not saying he doesn't know anything, but I'm saying if they're saying ban the tackle, that's because you don't have the experience of dealing with it. So you're saying you should be able to avoid doing this. It's not possible.
It's impossible to do. I've said it on the air to you, Skip. I said off the air to you. You cannot. You can't. I understand the horse collar. Yes, you're yanking and you're pulling down. You're simply wrapping somebody down, and now you're pulling them to the ground. If they're getting caught underneath you, then that's just what it is. There's nothing you can do.
No.
What do you mean?
That's not what they're saying. You can wrap and pull.
That's exactly what they're saying.
That is exactly what they're saying.
No.
Explain to me then what they're saying.
In the league office, they're keeping track of this. They say that the hip drop, the slingshot effect, is increasing the injury risk 25 times. So now we've seen Tony Pollard career-threatening. We've seen Mark Andrews career-threatening, although they say he might try to come back. I'll believe it when I see it. We saw Geno Smith throw a fit in Seattle not too long. It was back in week 4, and he went crazy about the Giants because they hip dropped him, and he said by the grace of God, he survived the hip drop. And now we see Jordan Travis. The problem is
what's crazy is the Geno Smith
let me
one
finish, Richard. I'm speaking. Thank you.
I'll let you speak, but you're not speaking from experience. So stop raising your voice, Skip.
Okay.
Talk to me, Skip.
All right. Are you going to let me speak or not?
You're speaking on something you don't have no experience doing. So, I mean, what point can you really make?
I've covered the game for a lot longer than you've been alive.
You've covered the game. Yeah. I've actually played the game longer than you ever played. So, what we're talking about is something that actually happens in the game that you can't experience unless you play it.
Does Rich McKay know anything about football? Keyshawn, help me out.
There is no solution to this because you've never done it. And so Rich McKay can say whatever he wants, but he can't offer a solution. You can't show me a way that you want these tackles to be corrected because you've never tackled. And so when you're talking to me, I want you to talk from a place of, I'm talking from a place of a guy who's tackled people, who's been in an open field with a runner who can go anywhere. There's a lot of open space. They're dynamic, 4-3, 4-4, sometimes 4-2.
Okay, so that was the awkward exchange between Skip Bayless and Richard Sherman earlier today when they were discussing the hip drop tackle that injured FSU quarterback Jordan Travis this past weekend. And this clip had social media going wild because of how similar in a way it looked when Shannon and Skip had their heated moments. Obviously, it wasn't as extreme, but it still wasn't a good look. On one hand, Richard Sherman didn't think Skip could speak on the matter better than him because he never played the game. So Skip quietly told Richard Sherman something he already told him years ago in that infamous viral clip from years back. I've covered the game longer than you've been alive. I remember the days when Skip would lose it on the air yelling at Shannon, "My turn!" But it appears Skip has really tried to contain himself after what transpired between him and Shannon and all the negative publicity he received since their fallout. A lot of people, rightfully so, thought Skip crossed the line with Shannon when he questioned his career and basically told him that he was nothing compared to Tom Brady. And since the revamping of Undisputed in August, Skip in a lot of ways has changed. No longer are there days of him yelling back at his co-host during fiery debates, but more so, he looks like a quiet shell of a man he once was. He just seems to be walking on eggshells as of late. A lot of that has to do with the dynamics of the new show, as it appears they've moved away from the one-on-one heated debates and more towards a group discussion, with Skip acting like a moderator. Anyways, personally, I will say in Skip's defense though, I don't really think he was yelling, because if he was yelling, you would know it. Yeah, he kind of raised his voice a little because Sherman was trying to talk over him, but I think Richard overreacted a tad bit. He knows that Skip isn't everyone's favorite person these days. Fans have just tuned out on Undisputed, and it doesn't matter who he brings on. His show is third in ratings on the network behind First Things First and The Herd, and Skip really needs to be careful. Anyways, what do you guys think? Was Skip wrong, or did Richard Sherman overreact a little?